opening.
It's still early days, but it's the theme of today, the isolated queen's pawn, the ITP again. So this time it's black with an isolated queen's pawn in the center there. So long-term, white is doing great, but black will get some dynamic play as compensation for his weak pawn. So white's castled, black's dark-squared bishop is now going to come out. And, yeah, still very well-known territory. This position could actually transpose to a Caro-Kann defense with colors reversed. You can transpose to a Nimzo-Indian defense with colors reversed. This type of general pattern, this outline, can arise from so many different openings, as we've seen throughout today, actually, this isolated queen's pawn position. So, yeah, strap ourselves in. It's going to be, I think, very, very tense as Vincent tries to go for the win. Black's bishop now just coming out and creating a pin. Another theme of today, lots of pins.
Yeah, I like it when we have these themes. For a beginner like myself, makes it a little bit easier to learn and to recognize these patterns. So thank you to the players. Is it a coincidence, you think, or is it like themes in world chess that they will be following?
Yeah, often patterns happen. Yeah. Openings go in and out of fashion. Often very playable openings just get forgotten for years. And often as well, isolated queen's pawns, those have gone through trends. For many, many years, people avoided them at the top level. Now they seem to love them, especially from the black side. So yeah, the players adhering to these kind of thematic pawn structures, to these thematic ideas, just using their pattern recognition to get by.
Definitely. Well, Vincent, Keymer, 15 minutes on the clock. They have played fast in the opening here. Jan Nepomniachtchi has played very fast. Has that actually been a trend for Jan in the tournament so far? Played very, very fast.
Very, very fast.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been very confident. I mean, this obviously has its advantages and disadvantages because it has meant that he has squandered away great opportunities. So, I mean, just thinking back, the first game against Keymer, he had a fantastic position. But because he took some quick decisions, he ruined it, and the game ended in a draw.
Yeah.
Here, this opening seems to be very much still in the realms of what has been played before, and this is all following the main line. And now White's idea in this position is actually to drop the light-squared bishop back to break this unpleasant pin that Black has against the knight and the queen.
Yeah, maybe we can show this, because pins have been a theme for today. And this pin is extremely annoying for White, not just now, but also long-term. If White, for example, wants to bring the white queen out at any point, then the black bishop will take this knight and ruin White's pawn structure. So as Jovanka mentioned, dropping this bishop back at some point, either now or in the next couple of turns, will surely happen. And at least now, White's knight can move safely without the queen behind it being attacked. White's queen can also move safely without any compromising pawn structure arising. We should also mention there is also a trap in the position. Some viewers at home might be wondering why White can't just get greedy and grab this pawn in the middle of the board. But after knight takes pawn, we would see a trade. And after White's queen recaptures, we actually saw this theme arise earlier. There's a loose piece in the position, the white queen undefended, and that means the bishop can jump out the way with a check, gaining time, and now the white queen would also fall off the board. And Jovanka called it. This bishop maneuver has happened, not quite in this position. White dodging the trap of knight takes pawn. White pushed a pawn first, black castled, and now the bishop has dropped back, and this pin has been broken. This is a good pattern to remember at home. Break the pins, because they will annoy you eternally if you don't. Meanwhile, White wants to develop the bishop on the long diagonal, if possible.
All right. Esipenko, Eric Hansen, game 3. I actually think the bar is slightly over to the Canadian side in that one. They are tied still after 2 games. Definitely there will be a game 4 between those two, but a win with the black pieces there. Wow, that would be huge for Eric Hansen. And look at that ding. The bar has just shot up for the Chinese in game 3 against Artemiev, and if he does win that, he will be ready for the semi-final to face probably Magnus Carlsen or Liam Le, if Liam is able to make a comeback. And okay, we had at least one move.
Yeah, and Black's actually played a very instructive maneuver and a very common maneuver. We've talked about themes that arise in this type of pawn structure. Black's bishop has dropped back, and look at the square that the bishop has just come from, the d6 square. Black's queen is now actually just going to drop down 2 squares, and she's going to team up with her dark square bishop and try to go towards the white king. This theme arose earlier in the tournament, earlier in the Airthings Masters, between Magnus Carlsen and Alexandra Kostenjuk. Magnus beat Kostenjuk using this exact idea, bringing the black queen onto the same diagonal as the dark squared bishop and going for checkmate. So a bit scary for Vincent to deal with. There are ideas to blunt this pattern. Actually, I know Peter Lecko, his coach, with colours reversed, played a very thematic idea in this position, moving the white knight out the way, the white kingside knight, putting it actually on the edge of the board. But I'm just wondering whether Vincent is familiar with those types of ideas, because in that game that Peter Lecko instructively won very quickly, it was colours reversed from a different opening. So that's the move I expect to see. But Vincent, how familiar is he with the ideas here? Jan clearly still in his preparation. Look at the clock times.
Wow.
Already a gap opening up.
So Lecko that we're talking about, that is the coach for Vincent Keymer.
Yeah.
But is he the coach for Jan Nepomniachtchi as well, or is he the second?
He's the second for Nepomniachtchi.
So that means a little bit different roles.
A little bit different roles. You know, Peter Lecko is like everything to Vincent Keymer. So he's like the coach, mentor, and probably, you know, from my understanding, is probably delivers chess files early in the morning, and maybe Vincent goes, yes, I like this, I'll play it. With his work with Nepomniachtchi is probably along the same lines, but more like delivering the lines, and then they kind of spar a little bit and they discuss that. But of course, as a second, he's not the only one, you know, he's part of a team. And for sure, there will be like non-disclosure agreements and all sorts of things. So it's a big, real conflict of interest here for Peter Lecko. You know, he cannot help either of the players.
No, right.
Morally, right?
Plus, he's commentating on the GM stream.
Yeah, so he has to suffer in public.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously comment on the moves, David. But I also want to ask, who else was working with Jan for the World Championship match?
So he never actually revealed all of the names from his team. We know Vladimir Potkin. He was the most visible second of Jan Nepomniachtchi's. He's been working with him for years. There was Ildar Herulin, another Russian grandmaster who's from the 1990 generation. They've known each other for, 20 plus years. And he was another main guy. We know maybe Sergei Karyakin was playing training games with Jan. Yeah. Rumours about Rajapov. I think Tomaszewski was another rumour. Many of the top Russian grandmasters. But either way, Jan had a whole army behind him. Vincent only really has Peter Lecko, which is good enough.
Yeah.
But for Peter, it's an awkward situation. Meanwhile, talking of awkward situations, look at Vincent still thinking, whereas Jan playing instantly on every single move. And there's a pawn sacrifice in the air. But I don't think White should get greedy in this position. Let's jump in. Simon, what do you think? Is bishop takes pawn going to get punished in this position?
Well, if you can take the pawn, I think you should, you know, because you've got to win this game. You've got to take some risks. So can he get away with it? I mean, it looks dangerous for the white king, but what does black actually do against this move?
So after bishop takes pawn, I mean, a few things come to mind. For example, at the very minimum, black can just move the rook across. I just have a feeling white is a bit stuck. And in this position, black has ideas such as bringing the knight to the side, capturing this pawn. It's all about this diagonal, the queen and bishop. If they can break through and get to the white king, it's just going to be checkmate. And I don't see any real moves for white. You've got to be really careful here. And actually, I'm trying to rack my brains, but I'm pretty sure I've studied this position, or at least very similar to this position before. And in this position, I remember the white knight jumping in to be a key move, or at least this idea either now or in the next few turns, because you break the connection with black's queen and rook to the knight in the center of the board. And this knight is protected by the bishop. So if black takes it, then you can jump forward with the queen. And now you are the one lining up towards the black king. And I think this would maybe have given white a small advantage, if I remember correctly. But similar stuff has happened in the game. White didn't get greedy and grab this pawn, which might have been a bit too slow. It would have lost a lot of time, instead dropping back with his knight. And after a trade, we see black's rook sliding across. And white has the advantage of the two bishops long term. These bishops are great on these two diagonals. A bit of X-ray vision there. But black is so active. Black has every piece in the game. Look how centralized these these 5 black pieces are. And white has to deal with their activity. Meanwhile, white lining up against this pawn. I still like what Vincent's doing, to be honest. I still think
it looks good. Two bishops, I mean, there's no weaknesses in white's position. And if white can also bring his rooks to the centre of the board and just get rid of the powerful black rooks, then he's going to have the long-term advantage. And I think you mentioned earlier, David, if you think about exchanges, if all the heavy pieces come off the board, so we talk about the queens and the rooks, you can just imagine them being removed, then white would have a very, very nice advantage there in an open position with the two bishops. So I like the way the move Jan's played. Jan's a very active player, and he's now gone to at least activate his knight, and he's creating some threats here himself, jumping in with a potential fork in the position. And again, active defence is the best way to play. So that knight move is certainly going to ask some questions there.
Yeah, and I think this is the style that he very much needs to adopt from now on, because, like you mentioned, white has all the trumps. Take them two bishops, open position, you know, just perfect. I mean, the knight doesn't have a post. The black knight doesn't have a post. I really don't like Jan's position. But having said that, there's a concrete threat, knight jumping into the d2 square, as David highlighted, and how to react to that.
I'm not sure it's a threat, though, to be honest, in the position, because if the knight does jump in, white's queen can actually swing across, team up with her dark square bishop and threaten checkmate. So maybe actually that would be a mistake for black's knight to jump in. I think the more pressing concern for white is black's bishop just sliding to the b6 square onto the same diagonal as the white king and creating some pressure that way. And meanwhile, Vincent, he's been playing a bit slowly in this game, maybe due to his CO2 levels, the air quality, not great from where he's playing right now. Instead, he does slide his rook across. So now the knight jump by black would be a mistake. White's queen would just swing across. And
I like the way he's playing this, though. I mean, he's getting some chances, and that's all you can do at this level. Get some chances, get a position that you can play, keep the match alive here. If he can swap some rooks off, which he's trying to do with that last move, then he wants to get these bishops really working in the ending. So I don't know. I think there's some chances here, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. If Jan isn't accurate over the next 3 or 4 moves, we could end up in that situation you mentioned, Simon, earlier, with all the pieces coming off, rooks, queens, and just eternal torture for black with those two bishops being far superior to the black knight. OK, wow, Jan bringing his queen this way. Just, I guess, still defending his knight from the side, but after a rook trade, white is slightly closer to that goal of eliminating all the pieces.
Who do you think Peter Lecko is cheering for secretly here? I mean, because you know, he's got his star pupil, and obviously he's got the guy who's been teaching for the World Championships. I mean, it's a tough one. I don't think we can even answer that, can we? Can we answer that one?
I think we can hazard a guess.
OK, Jovanka, do you want to go first? I'll go first. I reckon he's going for the youngster.
Me too.
I reckon he's like, yeah, come on, I'm going to be teaching this guy for the next 10 years.
Because he's been like the mentor OK, so he's like part of the team with Nepomniachtchi.
But then again, think about what it must mean for Jan after a tough time during the World Championship match to just show that he's back at the top, and maybe to even play the finals here with Magnus.
Yeah. I mean, maybe the ideal world is that Peter wants it to go to a tiebreak and just let it happen there.
Yeah.
And also, we want to see the extra excitement, right?
Yeah.
So,
I think there's a good chance here. I think there's a good chance that white could keep doing what he's doing. He's pushing black back a little bit. He's making progress slowly but surely here. I don't know if he can go for the exchanges of rooks now. That's something. Well, he can't exchange both pairs off because there is a weakness, a lot of weaknesses around the white king here. Is there immediate threat here? Bishop takes pawn, potentially. So it's still danger for white, but he's just got to be careful.
Got to be careful on this diagonal in particular. So if white is careless and trying to find a move, for example, just pushing the pawn forward, then we might see a rook trade. Bishop takes pawn. Now, this pawn is pinned, another theme of the day. And due to this pin, the bishop cannot be recaptured. And actually, black is just going to crash through on this square with the bishop, knight, and queen from afar. And that means that white most likely has to do something quickly. I would just flick in this exchange just because I don't see what else to do yet. Rook takes rook. Black's bishop has to recapture. The rook is required to defend this knight, so black's bishop has to step back and take the rook. And now is the moment to look for something for white. The problem is, if the rook slides across, trying to create a pin, then I guess the knight will just be backed up by a pawn. And it does look like it's very weakening for the black king. But then again, white's a bit stuck. This queen is required defending the pawn behind it. And it's not 100% easy for white to get organized. Meanwhile, black is going to try and put pressure on this square over the next few turns, or maybe even offer a trade of one of the bishops when he would breathe a sigh of relief once the bishop pair disappears.
Life is never simple, right? We
It's
think
never simple,
we're like, white has an advantage, and David shows us otherwise. It's like, oh, okay.
I mean, I'm pretty sure white has the advantage. I don't think white's ever worse, but
Yeah,
it's not easy to prove it, right?
And we're just going to build up to the excitement. And whilst we're waiting for the players to make a decision, I have a few selfies to share because I love it when people share their selfies from all around the world. And first up is Vasav Skywalker, who gives us a shout out from Italy.
Whoa!
Good, beautiful chess and 2 slices of pizza.
Nice. Oh, I want to see that pizza.
I want to see that pizza too.
My favorite food is pizza and pasta.
I don't want to see it, otherwise I'll get hungry.
Wow.
Here you go.
Oh, you guys are lucky. What is hello in Italian? I was going to say bonjour, but that's French.
That's French.
Why can I come up with hello in Italian?
Hold a minute. I just got ciao, but that's goodbye.
Yeah?
Goodbye.
Buongiorno.
Buongiorno. Or,
Buongiorno, yeah.
that's good day, probably. Giorno.
Yeah, good day. I don't know hello.
No.
Hola.
Bonuit. Oh, okay.
I think
Pardon our Italian, but hello.
we're so lazy in England, aren't we? I mean, learning languages. I mean, we're quite lucky that everyone learns English, really, because
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you speak a bit Norwegian? Don't you now?
I speak a bit of Norwegian, and I have a great talent that I've made Norwegian sound like it's English.
Your Norwegian is very good, Jovanka.
Yeah, but it sounds so English.
Well, it's like Norwegians being very able to make English sound Norwegian as well. All right. Well, thank you for sending in selfies. That looks very nice. And who can celebrate with the pizza among these two today? Nepomniachtchi. Is it getting close for him, or is he in trouble?
Possibly. I think he's just found a very good move as black. We did see one set of rooks leave the board, one set exchanged, white's queen slid across, and now look at this. The black knight stepped back, attacking the white queen, and we've seen the queen trade, actually, and everything's just getting eliminated. That is the problem. We mentioned white wants this position, but with the rooks off the board, and this black rook has just got active. So now white's dark square bishop under fire on the second rank from that black rook. It has to move. Maybe you could defend it with your own rook, but I'm expecting white's bishop to move, and if the 2 pawns on the left side get eliminated, those 2 Ari pawns, Alice, if they're both swapped off, white is just running out of material. If it's just pawns on one side of the board, knights become quite good, and they will, the 2 bishops together will not really be able to make any headway. So it's all about those 2 remaining pawns on the A file right now. If they stay on the board, Vincent, as white, has great winning chances. If they are traded, it's going to be a draw.
The bar has shot up in game 3 between Esipenko and Hansen. Looking good for Andrei Esipenko with the white pieces in that game. They are tied after 2 games. A win here will be huge for Esipenko. That means Erik Hansen will have to win game 4 to take that one to tie breaks. And the bar also all the way over to Ding's side. If that is a win, it will be over. He will be ready for the semifinals, and game 4 just started between Liam Le and Magnus Carlsen. Liam, he has to win that game to take it to tie breaks.
Wow, and I just took a peek over. Magnus Carlsen just needs a draw as black, but he sacrificed a pawn and gone for a crazy variation. Actually, one that I've seen you play, Simon.
Oh, wow.
So
that's worrying. So,
Magnus following the Simon Williams Ginger GM School of Chess.
Getting worried for Magnus if he's doing that, though. So,
But is that telling us that Magnus is back in form, basically?
It shows he's feeling more confident, at least. We'll still see whether he's able to avoid the blunders we saw in the prelims, but Magnus, brave opening choice. I like it.
Yeah, I think he's played this before as well, this line. I think didn't he play it against Sam Shanklin? I think recently. So it's
Vaikanze.
Yeah, and I think it's one of those lines which they've calculated so deeply that it's supposed to be equal. You know, just computer calculations. So I think it's quite a sort of safe sacrifice that Magnus is playing there, activity, and it does look in the current game at the moment that I really like the way Jan's done this. He's kept active. He's making threats with his pieces, and that's keeping the balance here and not allowing Vincent to consolidate. The advantage of the bishops. Probably looking like a draw, and the time situation, okay, still quite safe for both sides. So.
Gosh.
Yeah, very safe for Nepomniachtchi.
Nepomniachtchi has only seconds
less
than what he started with.
Yeah. Vincent was shaking his head as well a moment ago. look at Vincent, he's not happy, and he would love to just wave a magic wand and get the rooks off the board, but Black's rook is just too active.
Yeah.
Could I just ask you guys to peek at the game 3 Ding Artemiev, because I see the bar has just gone the complete opposite way, saying a win for Artemiev now.
Ooh, yeah, it looks like he's lost control. I think Ding was just in charge and maybe just took his eye off the ball for one move, and it's a full 360. It's not over. There's still a lot of life in the position, but Ding has missed a few knockout blows, and Artemiev maybe given a second life in this match.
Wow. All right, interesting.
He hasn't been himself, has he, Ding? I mean, I think it's probably because he's playing a very funny time zone, but he didn't do these things a couple of years ago, letting advantages slip like that. So,
I think we just saw a result as well. Esipenko has just beaten Eric in that game.
Ooh, wow.
Sad news.
That's,
Eric fans.
Yeah, that means Eric Hansen, he must win game 4 to take that one to tie breaks. He will have the white pieces in game 4. That's going to be interesting to follow. If it is a draw or a win for Esipenko, then he will be ready for semi-finals, where he will face the winner of this quarterfinal match. Right now, looking like it will be on Nepomniachtchi, who is up by 1 point. But I understand on you guys, definitely winning chances for Vincent in this game.
Yeah, if he can somehow activate the white rook or swap off the rooks, then I think he's going to be the favourite. But there's some threats in the position, actually. And let's just show why white can't grab a pawn in the current position. If we jump in, we can see that white is attacking this guy. I mentioned it was all about these two pawns. White's pawn surviving in order to create winning chances later and pushing up the board and trying to get rid of black's pawn in the process. But if you grab this pawn now, then the black knight would jump in, and it's a double attack, actually, attacking the white rook. And if the white rook moves, this is a nasty fork, hitting the white king, hitting the white bishop, and it's just game over. Black would win. That is why white had to take a timeout, and instead of grabbing this pawn, had to step back with his bishop, but now black is able to save this pawn, and still threats persist of ideas like the knight jumping in. Black can even at some point start going after white's pawn with his rook or with his bishop. It's looking like this rook is just dominating white's army right now, especially white's rook just not participating.
Do you think Nepomniachtchi has chances to win? Because it looks quite scary, right, with the A-pawn advancing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he needs to win, so if there's any way he can, well, he doesn't need to win, but if there's any way he can liquidate the position, then he will, I would imagine, like maybe with a knight d2 move, trying to swap off and get to, again, another theme. Maybe he can play that now, potentially get to opposite-coloured bishop position and take the draw. But OK, you're right, though, if he wins that A-pawn, it's getting better and better, isn't it?
And I just feel that maybe Vincent is panicking a little bit.
Yeah, I think so. Because now, if one pair of bishops get exchanged, which they can do, all of a sudden white's king side is very weak, and you might even lose the pawn at the side. Yeah, this is OK.
There is some
chance. Yeah.
Hope that you hit this f7 pawn, white's bishop on a great diagonal, but even if black were to drop back here, I don't see any real danger. The black rook going passive, just defending this pawn, and then the knight can drop back, and I think black would be completely fine. But Nepo finds maybe even better way, just brings his bishop one square across. So bishop trade still allowed, but now if they come off, then white's rook isn't active on this line at least. So yeah, this game fully under control from Nepomniachtchi. He doesn't need to win, but it does look like, if anyone, his position is easier to play. So in the current position, black eyeing up this pawn, hoping for a bishop trade, and if the bishops disappear, no more bishop pair. The game will be a draw.
And Artemiev, he has won game 3 against Ding. Ooh, this quarterfinal day is definitely heating up. Game 4 now, they will be tied heading into that. If we have a winner in that game, then that player will be the winner of that quarterfinal. If it is a draw, then those two will head into tie breaks. All right.
Yeah, Artemiev's so tricky.
Yeah.
We saw it on last season's tour. Even in terrible positions, he always finds resources.
Yeah. And I have to say, Ding might be feeling a little sense of deja vu.
Oh, yeah.
Because I do remember in the 2021 Gold Money Asian Rapid, he won the first day of knockouts, and the second day, he could have finished it off, actually. But he didn't, and he allowed Artemiev to strike back. And, of course, when it came to tiebreak, Artemiev was dominant.
Yeah.
So, yeah, these kind of things chess players don't forget.
And if it goes to tie breaks, I think Artemiev will be a big favourite, not just because he's a blitz specialist, but also because it's going to be 5 a.m. in the morning for Ding. Imagine playing blitz chess to survive in a tournament, maybe even Armageddon chess at 5 a.m. after you've been playing throughout the entire night.
That's insane.
Not easy.
Yeah, and Artemiev also will have momentum going into game 4 after a win. Okay, bunch of moves.
Yeah, a bunch of moves, and look at that. The pawns have disappeared. Also, a bishop for knight trade. There's just not sufficient material left. Yeah. This game is just dead drawn at the moment.
Yeah,
and that means Jan will be ready for semi-finals.
Solid day from him today, I feel. And I was wondering, actually, if you're going to pick one of the younger players in this competition to become world champion, is there something, you know, put you on the spot? Who would you pick?
Well, one of them already was world champion, Nordebek.
Right, OK, of course, yeah. Nordebek had a fantastic rapid result. I suppose, I mean, like, world champion of the world.
I know.
Who would you go for? Because they've all got a chance, haven't they? I mean, after Prague's brilliant result against, you know, Carlsen, you might go for him, but then you've got Esepienko, you've got loads of great players, and yeah, I don't know who I'd pick. Probably Prague. I'd go for Prague, probably, if I had to pick one. But we're heading for a draw here, and yeah, that could be Jan versus Magnus on the way in the final as well.
Yeah, they're on collision course for each other, right? Jan and Magnus. And the reason we say this is a dead draw is because if you look at the pawns, they're all on one side of the board. The fact that black has double pawns doesn't really affect anything. White doesn't have the pieces to attack double pawns. You often need knights to attack those. So yeah, it's just 3 pawns versus 3 pawns on the same side. No way to sneak past and create a passed pawn. And the rooks balance each other out, the bishops balance each other out, and that is why it's just a draw. Yep. Nothing to be done. Jan's just going to wait with his rook, and white has no plan to break through.
Yep.
So we'll see a few more moves. I think Vincent just coming to terms with the fact his tournament's going to be over, just enjoying every single moment of this experience. And
yeah. Would you say it's a breakthrough for him, or is that overdoing it? I mean, has he already made his big breakthrough in top of chess?
He's made some breakthrough. I mean, even when I think he was 12, 13 years old, he won this Grenka tournament, one of the biggest opens in the world. Yeah. And recently he qualified for the Grand Prix. He's been doing great lately, but he'll get more belief now. I think this is the first time he's really been beating some of the top players. I know it's just rapid chess, but for these young players, it is all about that kind of confidence and belief that they can compete. And he knows he can now. It's been so close in this match today as well.
Super impressive by Vincent Keymer, but it probably stops here. Nepomniachtchi is up by 1 point. This is game 4. He only needs a draw in this game, and it looks like that's going to happen any second now. Still with how much time? 18?
Jan up to 16 minutes.
16 minutes. I need to get some glasses.
That's still a lot of time.
More time than he started with, which is like, he's made it look easy. So.
I mean, I was talking about confidence for the young players, but look at these guys, Nepomniachtchi, Aronian, they all play instantly these days. Yeah. Trusting their instincts, that's another key thing in chess. Yeah. We've seen this position before. Yeah. Just going round in circles now.
Just playing it out, so.
Well, how impressed are you guys by Nepomniachtchi in this tournament? He seems almost invincible.
Yeah, and he seems calm, that's the main thing. Yeah. In the World Championship match we commentated on, he was never really calm, in the second half at least. But he's got that calmness back, and that's the key.
Yeah, I think it's a confidence thing, isn't it? I mean, it happens all the time. I mean, chess is a mind sport game, and you've got, OK, is that a draw?
That is a draw.
OK,
that is a draw. And Nepomniachtchi is the first player that is ready for Airthings Masters semi-finals.